Hey there. We've covered a few topics regarding D&D on this channel, and I thought, as a general break from turning my experiences into lessons, we could maybe just indulge in checking out some horror stories or struggling situations, either finding amusement out of them or trying to help people in question. Let me know what you think of this, and if you like it, then I'll probably do more in the future, but for now, let's just jump right into it and read the story that I've found. As a first-time DM, long-time player, I decided to run a custom-made one-shot for some friends. It went super well, so we decided to turn it into an impromptu campaign. Only problem was one of my friends was super annoying the whole time. He would laugh and openly mock me and my plot developments, text his friends the whole time and interrupt me, and would just generally harp on things that I did, like losing character sheets by accident or trying an experimental dungeon that didn't work too well, but still had okay combat and the like. The other members of the party were super polite and accommodating and gave me actionable feedback regarding that last point with the dungeon, so I didn't see any problems. Due to graduation and the like, the group disbanded, but the problematic player decided to start being the DM instead, for his own one-shot. I decided to go along with it out of some sort of obligation. Now, here already I do have to just jump in and say, why have you not brought this up to the player? Or maybe you have in an edit. I suppose I'll go check that real quick. No, it doesn't seem like it. My first question would be, if you have a player in a group of friends that's just mocking you and generally kind of acting as though they're better than you or kind of ruining the flow of the game, did you ever mention it to them? Did you ever say, this isn't funny, this isn't how I want to run my game, or just generally say, hey, this is a problem? I get the assumption that this is probably someone who's younger. I think I saw mention of graduation. Yes, that was it. There's graduation. So obviously this is a issue of players just not communicating. Now, maybe this person is just a problem player and they just kind of feel that they're better than you. You get those kind of people. You get people who know more the rules of the game and just kind of feel like, no, I'm better. This person's new, and no matter what they say, I really am just kind of here to feel superior or play a character which is just absolutely metagamed out and ready for any scenario, no matter what the new DM faces at them. I've had situations like that where players who have had way more experience than me have made characters either that I've accidentally helped them make or that they've made just due to knowing the game better that are so much stronger or better in specific scenarios, and I, as a new DM, have had to deal with that. It's hard. It is. This, however, with the limited information we have, just seems like someone who really doesn't want to be here or wants to turn the situation into a joke where they're going to bully you. Before the story even starts, I kind of feel like you should have confronted this person, and if your friends are so supportive, maybe they should also have said something, but we'll see how the story develops. Before the new session started, I asked him how he felt about my campaign, and he said that he didn't like the way I did things and listed off various things that, while I could have done better, really can just be attributed to the guy not paying attention or eagerly engaging with mechanics. It was kind of mean-spirited, and he tried to imply that he would do a better job than I did, which was kind of just disheartening and left a bad taste in my mouth. But it's on me for not doing a module that I understand very well. Let's jump in and get this straight. I don't think that you doing a module that you understood better would have helped. This guy just seems to honestly want to use this as a situation to bully you and say that he's better than you. I don't think that you being new or knowing the module any better would have helped. The first one shot he did was a module rather than something custom, so it went well enough, but he said he wanted to do what I did and continue on as a whole campaign. I went along with it, but he levelled our characters down, wrote parts of our backstories for us, and basically decided to make his own fey run instead of the existing fey run, which kind of forcibly rewrote our backstories entirely. After that, it got kind of worse. He became incredibly inflexible, doing a variety of things that made me as a player freak out. He would do things like guilt people into staying for the whole session, even though they absolutely had to leave early. Nighttime campaign on a work night. Tell people to wait to take bathroom breaks and get mad if he couldn't railroad us because our characters didn't want to take that random side quest. The recent session we had was kind of my last straw, as it included all the previous shenanigans and then some. Again, is no one talking to this guy? This is obviously a group of friends, and I understand that is difficult, but he was a problem player, now a problem DM. He's kind of just harassing people into doing things they don't want to do. At some point, you need to communicate. This is what session zeros are for. These first sessions, these session zeros, are for you saying, hey, I know that we had these problems when you were a player in my campaign. As a DM, I'm kind of hoping that you don't do these things. This was a problem. If you keep doing this, I'm probably not going to feel like I want to be here. Try and hash things out as players. Again, you did this presumably as kids. At least graduation kind of sounds like kids. It sounds like maybe American high school or something, or maybe college, who knows. But now you're adults. You're talking about work here, so you need to communicate. That is a big aspect of just table etiquette. But we continue. Basically, we got snowed in by a perpetual sandstorm of a family living in the desert. Our quest was to go to the pyramid in the desert, and my character figured out that if we went northeast, we could reach it. And we would have to make our own way there, as on the way to the journey, we fell out of the caravan that was driving us there. The sandstorm is really bad and would likely kill us before we even got to the area, so we wanted to take shelter and use the debris outside to craft a vessel. Fair enough. Meanwhile, there is a weird murder mystery going on in the family, and crops outside are being trampled on, so the family accuses us for some reason. The mum knows how to cast Zone of Truth. She's not a mage, but she casts it anyway and interrogates us. Basically, a lot of things in this mystery that ignore the rules of magic, such as the mum being able to transmute carrots into chicken, her being able to Zone of Truth 12 times in a day as a commoner, and just other stuff which doesn't line up. My character was a wizard, so I set up alarm around the house and we continue trying to find a way to escape. Again, this could be done interestingly, having this mysterious character who's quite powerful but appeared to be a commoner. I get the feeling this isn't how that story is going to go though. The DM wanted us to engage with the plot of the family, but in character we all just wanted to find a way out of here and out of the storm without imposing on the family. My character is an artificer wizard multiclass, so I wanted to try and engineer a solution with the rest of the party. We're all having fun trying to engineer a solution and coming up with ways to make adhesives, put planks together, and I start working on a prototype for my Steel Defender, level 2 artificer, so this is a prelude to the full Battlesmith feature. We're all riffing off each other and having a really fun time. The cleric suggests that we make some sort of toboggan since wheels would get stuck in the sand. The bard suggests we use mending on the wooden debris and trying to repair some of the planks. I get to work on the adhesive and build a mechanical frig to pull the wagon. It's a really cool moment. We're all just spending each day helping the family and the like. After a couple of days, an alarm goes off, and it turns out the whole murder mystery was that their pet turtle was actually a turtle dragon and was killing family members and the like. We did not see that coming whatsoever. We kill the turtle, the family's not too shaken up, and about half their family is dying. But the caravan returns for some reason, knowing exactly where we are, somehow. We fell off the caravan and the people in it didn't know where we were. A lot of the session's failings can be attributed to new DM shit happens, and things kind of spiral afterwards. After the session, the DM kind of goes off on us on not engaging with the murder mystery, and that we should have looked for footprints, asked the family members, and been more inquisitive. Kind of insults our intelligence in general, and then he gets critical of me in particular for not suspending my disbelief that the mum has the spell capabilities of a level 14 caster. He also gets critical of us trying to engineer a solution with seemingly no one in sight to help us. He calls what we're doing a huge time waster that made us miss clues. I'm not an expert DM by any means, but this really just left a sour taste in my mouth, and I don't know how to politely tell the guy that I don't want to do this campaign anymore. Edit. An update. Sent my message and left the group. As a clarification, the reason I hesitated to do so to begin with was the following. Friend of a friend, so I was worried it would cause a falling out. They've gaslit me in the past, so I was believing I was just kind of too sensitive. They've guilted us by saying how much work he put in. No one else had spoken up, so I thought I was the only one that saw a problem with everything. General avoidance, because, hey, it's 3 hours once a week and I can put up with it, and the late nights and refusal to pause for the bathroom breaks didn't really affect me personally, and only happened during the last session before I left. In any case, I found my spine. Thanks you all for some of the advice. Oh dear. Is my reaction, I think, to that. Where to begin? Other than the problem player situation at the start, I don't actually think that this DM is that bad. Which goes again what the comments seem to be thinking in RPG horror stories. Honestly, the murder mystery stuff sounds interesting. It sounds like the DM had a plan that they wanted to engage with, and this general mystery that turns out to be instead a monster the party can fight. And then they would come back and save the party. Now, there are some holes in this. It doesn't really seem clear to the party that they're going to be saved by anything, and so they start trying to engineer their own way out. That is good. And the DM should, I think, understand and respect that the party is really having a lot of fun engaging with the idea of how to escape. And they're interacting with the family, at least by what this limited text dump says. It's just they're not interacting with the mystery of sorts. And that, I think, is a failing to connect and communicate between the DM and his players. Obviously, these two people want different things, and I think that, honestly, from the start, they are somewhat in a bad position to begin with, as it just genuinely feels like the players want one thing and the DM wants another thing. The DM clearly has a story. They've been playing for a while at least, it seems, but they're not communicating their problems. They want to do this, or they want to maybe take breaks and the like, where perhaps the DM is very invested in their campaign and wants to just keep going with the flow of the story. That's fine. I've been there. Everyone gets engaged in their own narrative. However, this really is a case of, why is no one in this story talking to each other? If there's a problem, people should be saying it. In this edit, they're talking about gaslighting and being guilted, and no one else has spoken up. This is a group of friends. You should be able to communicate. One of the most important things in D&D, guys, is to talk to the table. If someone has a problem, you've got to talk about it, especially to the DM of all people. Now, I think the problem here is twofold. The players just don't communicate, but neither does the DM. But the DM also is just being inflexible. Obviously, they've shown that they're kind of a dick at the start and were fairly rude to someone else DMing. So when it comes to be their turn to DM, well, they don't really have a leg to stand on. They've been a rude player, and so they've kind of set themselves up to be assumed as a rude DM. No one wants to question them because they've just shown a habit of being relatively rude in response. So they've broken down the lines of communication before communication has even started. However, I do feel like they had a relatively interesting sounding narrative with this mystery and the commoner who somehow knows more mysterious magic. You could have written that into something interesting. Again, it sounds like the OP was a little bit too engaged with the idea of, well, they're a commoner and they shouldn't know these spells. And admittedly, if they really did cast Zone of Truth 14 times, that is somewhat ridiculous. However, a commoner knowing Zone of Truth and casting it could be an interesting plot point. Why does this woman know Zone of Truth out in the desert? Is there some kind of important narrative here? Did she learn it from some ancient clerical wizard? And going from that as an interesting point should be something the party might want to engage with. It doesn't seem like that's happened here, and I really feel like that is a twofold problem. But the DM almost seems to be obstinate in just stubbornly proceeding with what they want, down to the point that when it's time to go, they have the mysterious monster that's killed the family turn up and just kind of force them into dealing with the problem, then complain that they didn't see it coming. I think a better solution might have been to just allow the murder mystery to fail. Clearly, the party isn't going to engage with it, and let them escape. Don't have people come and save them. Let them build this skiff of sorts they're making, this sand boat or whatever, to kind of bobsleigh their way across the dunes, and then midway through, have the murder mystery creature attack them. Or they hear a scream behind them from the homestead they've just left. The players might turn around or they might race ahead, and you can have the monster appear. You can engage with the players, reward them for what they've done, and maybe turn it into an interactive battle situation where they're trying to escape on the skiff faster or fighting on it as it moves and the monster is kind of going along beside them. This was a situation where both parties really could have worked together and made a communication failing into a better narrative. And in the end, neither of them really worked together. They just kind of ended up as complete opposites. And I don't think that this is solely the problem of the DM. There's a line here that it says, then he gets critical of me for, in particular, not suspending my disbelief that the mum has the spell capabilities of a level 14 caster. And he gets critical of us for trying to engineer a solution, with seemingly no one in sight to help us. Now, this is a problem. The DM describes them trying to engineer a solution as a time waster, and it's not. It's players trying to have fun and make the best out of a situation where they don't have the information that you have as a DM. As a DM, he knows the problem is solved. The people are going to come back and they'll be fine. They'll be safe. As a player, their goal is proceeding to where they need to go next and getting away from this somewhat hostile homestead. So their goal is only escape, 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 not what is happening here. The DM's goal is, why are you ignoring my plot point? It's so important. Stop playing with funny games and spells. The problem here is both sides are kind of stuck in not suspending their disbelief for the moment. They're acting negatively because someone who they expected to be kind of a non-entity has more interesting powers, and the DM is irritated that they're being cautious. Now, players will just randomly go headstrong and charge into things they shouldn't do, and sometimes they'll be so cautious that they barge into a random attic or basement of an innkeeper that they think is now suddenly housing the devil because you made a arbitrary comment in the description of the inn room. Players just do these things, and you have to expect that as a DM. You have to adapt to it. It can just be a funny joke out of character when you allow them to kind of go along with those cautious moments. You can even play into it and then later on break that habit of playing into it by actually giving them a threat. However, it's unfortunate that this turned into just the players leaving and D&D overall just ending. On the whole, I think that there was a solution here, and the solution, as with many RPG horror stories, is the people should have just talked to each other. I do think that the DM was ultimately something they should just not have played with after the first incident. The incident where he was a disrespectful player and everyone else around them was enjoying the narrative of the DM. They enjoyed that style of play. It was clear from the beginning that you guys as a group were not going to get along, and while they were a friend of a friend, you should have been able to talk to that friend, I feel, and say, hey, there's a problem here. And honestly, it's also on your friends for just seeing that problem and not dealing with it. But that's horror stories. That's how they are. Anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed listening to this. Maybe you agree with some of my points. Maybe you completely disagree with me. It's up to you. Let me know. I'd love to discuss it in the comments, and maybe we'll do more of this. If you like this, let me know. Leave a like, leave a comment. Everything helps with the algorithm, and we'll just kind of see where this goes. Something more chill for maybe the ends of the week. But thank you for watching, guys. I will see you in the next video.